I know that there was a press conference held yesterday with the Minister of Transport, the Honorable Lawrence Scott, to update the media and also the country on the bus situation where the buses were down yesterday and the buses are down again today. I can tell you that there was a press release sent out, I think the media got it over the weekend, to let the public know that there will be some industrial action with the buses on Monday, the 16th of August. And understanding that it was going to cause some concerns for the public, we want to make sure that the public was notified, as opposed to them waking up on Monday morning and finding out there are no buses. So we done as best we could to try to inform the public about the potential industrial action that was going to happen yesterday. We had a meeting yesterday at the Labor Department with the management team to try to resolve this issue, and we were unable to resolve it. We then went back again this morning. That's why we're a few minutes late today, because the minister joined the meeting today, Minister the Honorable Lawrence Scott. He was not in the meeting yesterday. But certainly, I want to address, and we want to address, the president of the BIU as well as the divisional officers of the bus division want to address some of the issues that the minister and the director raised yesterday, because I think that if you're going to give information to the public, make sure you give them the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Certainly, when the minister, the Honorable Lawrence Scott, said it must be noted that the government has met its obligations under Schedule 10 of the Collective Bargaining Agreement, pick a work, was posted on Friday. When they posted, just to be clear, the work that they posted, and the minister knew the work that they posted was the wrong work. And the operators will be able to speak to that. I think what the country should know is that there are two sets of rosters. There are winter rosters and there are summer rosters. And they are different, and are different for a reason. There are 93 summer rosters, there are 104 winter rosters. For 3 months of the year, they do summer work. And that's mainly when the schools come out towards the end of May, first week of June, until the end of August or first week of September. That's about 10 weeks. Then they do the summer work again for 2 weeks in December when school's out. So for 3 months of the year, they do summer work. For 9 months of the year, they do winter work. So for the minister and Mr. Todd to explain, and remember now, and I'm surprised the media didn't drill him a bit more on this. When Mr. Todd said traditionally this is how it's normally done, and towards the back end of his comments, he was talking about, well, based on the resources that we have, management should have a right to do certain things. You do, but you got to make sure you follow what the CBA says. And it's the BIU's opinion, and we think that is correct, that the minister, as well as DPT, has violated the CBA. The 1998 rosters have been around since 1998, same year the PLP was elected government. So for about 23 years, and let's just say 21 years, because I think that my understanding up to 2019, these rosters have always been fine. We had recessions in 2008, 2009. We have never been asked by the government to change our roster picks. Never. Never. So for the minister now to say that we need to have a more, I think he says, a more consistent and reliable service. Well, how are you going to have a more consistent, reliable service when you don't have the bus fleet that you need, and you don't have the amount of operators that you need? Those are two very important impediments to make sure you got a proper bus service. But once again, the minister and the management team want to force our members to accept something that they want, not something workers want. And let's just be clear, it's not Chris Frederick, it's the members of the bus division who have put this request on the table. So I will let them speak to the issues as to the rosters and how things normally work. Not traditionally, normal for the past 23 years at least. So, Brother Bull, you want to speak first?
Sure. Good morning to the media, to the public. In regards to the rosters that we have right now, we are currently doing our last bit of summer rosters, which will end the week of September the 5th, as we will proceed to go into our winter rosters, which will start on September the 6th, with school starting on September the 9th. That is the projection that we have done over the past 23 years, as Brother Chris had stated, due to the current rosters that we have in place, which is considered being the winter 98 rosters. With that being said as well, we have to also understand that during that time, we will be doing those rosters basically as they are considered more feasible rosters that have more weekends off, and also they have earlier days, which most operators, if not all, have the privilege of being able to be a part of. So with that being said, when you have the summer rosters that we're doing right now, they are much longer days, and they also have last weekends in them. So the junior operators have less opportunities to spend with their families at night, and even some senior operators have the same issues, and that's why, of course, we reluctantly allow them to happen for the 2 months, as we have done so, again, for the past 23 years, and then we go into our winter rosters as always been scheduled. This hasn't been an issue up until 2019. Now, all of a sudden, since we have our new director on board, we seem to continue to get new roster changes and new rosters because they feel like it's more feasible for them to go with this whole new proposal that they put, instead of allowing the CBA for what it stands for and what it is to continue through. Are there any questions from the media in regards to the rosters and how they operate?
Yeah, this is it, pretty much.
Yes. I do have a question on that because you're saying, I'm trying to determine the removal of school buses from the bus division PIC is the main issue, therefore, the inconvenient times for bus division staff. That you seem to indicate that summer times were less convenient. So with those, presuming those kind of hours may continue, is that the concern?
So basically, with the summer rosters, there are no school runs in them. So the summer rosters are basically the rosters made up in a different pattern without school runs compared to the winter, which have school runs. With the winter rosters that have school runs, basically, for most rosters, you would have where they are taking the children to school in the morning, and then, of course, in the afternoon, dropping them off, with most rosters knocking off after that school run, which is basically around about 4:15, 4:30 in the afternoon, which doesn't, as a pattern, happen in the summer rosters that we have right now.
Okay. So is the availability of a certain number of specific shift times mandated by the CBA, or is it just the way it's been operating for the last 20 years?
Everything is in the roster book as it's been for the last 23 years.
Is it mandated by the CBA?
The roster books-
management can't change that. Is it mandated?
Well, let's just be clear. If you look at the rosters, right? So if you look at roster one,
Yeah.
roster one's going to lay out your work for the entire week. So it tells you when you start, it tells you when you finish. So all the hours that you're working is right in your roster.
Yes.
And that's the same thing for the winter rosters. The summer and winter rosters are laid out the exact same way. So it says that I sign on at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I might sign off at 6 o'clock in the evening, and I might have a 2-hour break somewhere in the middle. But I'm signed on for all that time. So and we have spread time in the rosters. So you can have a situation where somebody's working, a 10-hour day or a 12-hour day in the roster. So all the scheduled hours are in the roster.
But that's not what's being questioned here. What you're saying is that you believe that the government has somehow violated the collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah, because
if the nature of the hours, is the nature of the hours of bus division staff within the collective bargaining agreement. Because yesterday, DPT Director Roger Trott said the collective bargaining agreement, I'm quoting him, the collective bargaining agreement does not specify which rosters or which schedule the work must be organised around for the PIC. It simply specifies the number of PICs and the frequency of PICs.
It's wrong.
Is he incorrect?
It's incorrect. Why? Because we have two sets of rosters. So why do we have two sets of rosters? If Mr. Todd is saying correct, why do we have two sets of rosters? We have a winter set and we have a summer set. The summer set works for 3 months out of the year. The winter set works for 9 months out of the year. Why do we have two sets? Mr. Todd is incorrect. And I told him that today at Workforce Development or at the Labor Department. He was wrong for what he said.
He also said yesterday, though, that the and I'm quoting him again, we have insufficient resources to reliably and consistently meet both the public bus and the school bus schedule, end quote. And therefore they are seeking alternative solutions for the bus schedule. The Minister of Transport said there'd be no loss of work for any of the bus division. It's simply presumably because
Well, the minister's incorrect too, because first of all, there'll be no loss of hours for members, that's correct. But it is loss of work. If I had a school run that took me an hour, and you know I'll take that hour work and give it to a minibus, that means I got an hour's work that I'm not doing. So it's incorrect. What he said.
He's saying that work, that there isn't enough resources for the work that is there for both public buses and the public and the school buses. So presumably that means that when, in trying to run them both, something would get lost. Whereas if they could just run the public bus service with DPT and then have, maybe they're going to put it out to tender for the schools, there would still be enough hours to go around. Is that wrong?
Well, certainly I think that if you look at what has happened since 1998, that members that are hired at DPT to drive the bus, and there are picks for work. There's a summer pick and there's a winter pick. The agreement is clear that just at the beginning of this, end of this school year, we have a pick. Just after I think it says summer. Let me just read what it says to you. So you actually, subject to consultation, there shall be a maximum of 2 picks a year and a maximum of 4 picks. And listen to what it says. There will be 1 pick before the school summer holidays and another at the end of school summer holidays. So what do you think that means? If you're having different picks, you must be picking different work. You have to be. And that's why they say the summer work finishes, as Brother Boy just said, we now should be picking our winter work. What's my winter work? My winter work, it says 104 rosters. That's my winter work. But the management team is saying, well, the winter work is going to exclude school runs because we don't have the resources to do that. So the question I asked him, Mr. Todd, you say you're not going to have the resources. In the summer rosters, there are 93 rosters. You say you need 62, somewhere between 62 buses or so to run that schedule effectively, right? Okay, under the winter rosters, there's 104 rosters. He says he needs 88 buses. Now, out of those 88 buses, how many of those buses are for schools? 20. So now, look at the number now, 68 versus 64. So your numbers are not that far off as far as having the public being inconvenienced as far as service is concerned. So for them to say that it's more efficient for them to run the summer schedule all the way through because we can eliminate the school runs or whatever have you. I just gave you the example. There are 104 winter rosters. He needs 88 buses. But 20 of those 88 are school runs. School runs. With the issue right now, understand, and I think the country needs to understand, this is not the unorganized area. The management team can decide to do something against the CBA without the members' permission, without the members' approval. And if there's a reasonable request up on the table, as everybody would know, we took a wage freeze for 5 years. Last year we had the austerity going on. We worked overtime for straight time. So all our members have been doing our part in government to make sure we continue to do certain things. Where has government dropped the ball? And not just the PLP government, the LBA government, back to the PLP government. We have, of course, we don't have the vehicles to do our work. That's a big impediment. We don't have first of all, the manpower to do our work. What's short, maybe 20 operators. They told us last year they was going to hire 24 operators. You mean they hired? They've hired 5. They went from hiring 24 to hiring only 14, and now they're hiring 5 out of the 14. But yet you wanted to talk about you're trying to implement some kind of consistency in your service. But you ain't made the commitment to the kind of commitment they made, the point was made this morning, the kind of commitment you made towards getting these electric buses in. If you'd have made the commitment towards your staff and getting some things done, maybe the staff would be willing to work with you. But they don't see that kind of urgency for the issues. So we can't just accept the fact, oh well, under management's rights, we're going to change your hours. And we want you to work this roster as opposed to that roster. No, the book clearly states that you got to get mutual agreement from the union and its members to do what you're doing. And what the management is saying, we don't need your permission. We're going to get them implemented. And that's why we say they're violating the CBA. Any further questions?
If I may?
Yeah, Bob. Yes.
Sorry, if I may.
even towards the end of the conversation in the meeting, we even stated that if we let us go ahead and pick the winter rosters, we can go ahead and pick the winter rosters, put together a team of senior operators that can work with them on perusing and restructuring the summer rosters, and then bring it back to the body and let them decide whether they want to go ahead and do it or not. They wasn't even willing to do that. All we were asking is to let us pick our winter rosters, which is what we normally do every year, and then in the meantime, let's continue to work on putting something together with the summer rosters, which is palatable to the bus operators, and we can go from there. They wasn't even willing to do that. The problem is that this has been going on for a long time. We're short of buses, we're short of manpower. Like Brother Chris said, over the last year, they promised us 24 drivers. Then they dropped it down to 15. We've had 5 in the last year, and 1 quit. So now we've only have 4. Not to mention the amount of bus drivers that are of age that are starting to retire. So the 4 that we've hired have been swallowed up. Now we have to start all over again. You know, we keep giving. We go through this year, government says, oh, they made it through last year, they'll be okay. Let them go ahead next year. And it never ends. So when does it end? We understand the situation that they're in, we understand the situation that the country's in. But we're working under some serious conditions right now. 65% of our buses, 70% of the buses doesn't have air conditioning. It is 100 degrees plus on those buses, especially with the plastic shield going on and wearing a mask. And then we're on the buses dealing with the customers, explaining to them that why they have to wear the mask, you have to sanitize, every 5 minutes, wear your mask, you pull your mask up, you have to sanitize, pull your mask up, it's not enough there, how far are you going? And then we're dealing with the people on the road. So it becomes tiresome. You know, some drivers out here 3-4 hours in a bus with no AC. And it's not right. So now we're at that stage where when it's enough. You know, we've presented everything to them. Like Brother Chris said, the CBA states a summer pick, a winter pick. All we want is our winter pick. We have no problem looking at the summer work and trying to tweak it to see if it works for us. The summer work is taxing. You will have some people that will start, most of the people will start work in the dark and go home when it's dark in the summer work. And then you have some at the juniors that just come on 5 years down. They won't even get a chance to get a roster. So that means one day they may be in Dockyard, they may be in St. George's, they may be in town, and they're going to be all over the place. So for those that have families and children, what time do they have to deal with their families and their outside life when they don't know where they're going to be or what they're going to be doing? You know, in the winter pick, and let it be known that the managers, the supervisors, I've been made to understand, and I've heard from numerous supervisors that they would prefer the winter rosters because it's easier to piece work together. It's easier to maneuver around the winter work than it is the summer work. I've heard that from numerous supervisors, that it's easier to work with the winter rosters. They're more concerned about the cancellations. Majority of the cancellations, like Brother Chris said, are the school runs, which they're going to get. They have been, I don't know if they're contracted yet, but everyone knows that the minibuses are going to be doing the school runs. And short runs like Barnes' Corners, you know, from town to Barnes Corner and back. A lot of those don't even run. So a lot of those make up those cancellations. So they're trying to make it seem like they have this huge cancellation of buses that are not running, then that's entirely not true because Brother Chris gave you the numbers just now. We went there in good faith for the last 2 days. I said to Mr. Todd, and I've said to the minister this morning, please allow us to pick our winter work and let's end the shenanigans. they made it quite clear that the winter work is not an option. That's where their exact words, it's not an option. So what do you expect us to do? We're doing our best. We want to get back to work. We understand that the public is suffering right now, and for that we apologize. But how many times you're going to keep flogging us and flogging us and flogging us? We've been waiting for a cafeteria for 7 years and it still hasn't come yet. We've been waiting for new buses for God knows how long, and it still hasn't come yet. They said they got 30 new electric buses coming in January, supposedly. You know, we have been dealing with a lot. A lot of people don't understand what's going on the inside of DPT. You know, a lot of these systems that we're working with is antiquated. The token system is antiquated. You know, somebody puts in 350 and they're going dockyard, and you're like, you put in 350. So? But it's $5 ride to dockyard. So we have to be arguing with people about bus fare and the like. It's just a lot that we have to deal with, and a lot of people don't understand what goes on the backside. Most of us are working 6 days a week. We're working 6 days a week just to make a decent paycheck. And for the last year, they've been working 6 days a week on straight time. Straight time. A lot of people look for that extra because, again, the paycheck is okay, but it's not great. The government and the whole island is cut somewhat upside down, and we do understand. But when it's enough.
Now, is
Yeah.
there a belief in the union that this is possibly something that's going to wind up having to go before the courts? I mean, obviously, it sounds like there's a deadlock at this stage.
Through the courts?
Is that possible?
Well, you would know that in the past, when we've had this kind of industrial dispute, the minister, depending on who the minister was, right now it's the Honorable Minister Jason Haven is the minister. So basically, what we were told by the labor relations officer this morning, Mr. Lawrence Smith, is he's going to refer the matter to the minister now. So the minister's probably going to use his powers to refer the matter to arbitration. I've constantly said to employers, I've constantly said to the union, we can't hide behind arbitration. It's not a good place for either side to be in. If the minister thinks, or the government, and this is the Minister of Transport and DPT management think, well, they're relying on the Minister of Labor to refer this matter to arbitration so we can get a result. We're not looking to go by arbitration. We're not. Why? First of all, the agreement is clear. My members should be able to pick a winter roster in the time they're supposed to pick it, and pick the summer work in the time they're supposed to pick it. I don't need a third party telling us, well, no, Mr. Fabi, you got the agreement wrong. Like this new director that's coming in for 3 years now saying, well, this is his interpretation. No, this is what the agreement has been for since 1998 up to now, is that we have a pick right after cut match. We have a pick for winter work. So we're not going to arbitration for a third party to tell us, well, no, Mr. Fabi, your members got it all wrong. If the minister and the government and the department want the agreement changed, let them come to the table, bring up a change to Schedule 10, pick a work, Schedule 8, also work. Here's the change we want to make to the CBA, BIU, and that's how it's done. Remember now, for the ministers to say, this is not 1990, not 2000, it's not 2010. This agreement in front of us is 2018. That's the last one we have. So you had every opportunity, whether it was the PLP government or the ABA government, come in and say, look, we need to make some changes to the roster picking. Why? That's how it's done. It's not done through the media, and it's not done through arbitration. It's done through the collective bargaining process where the parties sit down and negotiate. Don't hide behind arbitration. Don't make that mistake.
Now, these rosters have been in place since '98.
Yes.
Obviously, this is a matter of a long discussion between the unions and government, successive governments. What does the union want when it's looking at a new schedule to improve things for both the drivers and the public at large?
Well, if you look at some of the rosters, and some of our members, probably don't like the comment of, we prefer. We had an arbitration about a 35-hour work week. It was probably almost 20 years ago, because we were looking to get our members in government a 35-hour work week. I mean, some of these rosters, they're like 10 hours, 12 hours. I want to say the longest period of work in a roster is probably 12 hours and 45 minutes. That's not a lot of the rosters, but at least 50% of the work is over 10 hours worth of work. It's over 10 hours. So you got somebody signing on at 6 o'clock in the morning and finish at 6 o'clock at night, or sign on at 6 o'clock in the morning and finish at 4:30 in the afternoon. So they've been on the job for 10 and a half hours. And we've been trying to get rid of the spread time. We've been having this conversation for almost 20 years now about getting rid of spread time so we can look at what the minister's saying. Can we make the service more efficient or more reliable? Yeah. If we got the buses to work with, if we got the operators to work, the operators that are needed to provide the service, then we can go and provide the service that is needed. I think the reason why we haven't been able to come to a real smooth resolution because I don't think that the government or department has been able to put the wheel together because, as Brother Red said, we've got members over there with the expertise to sit down and have a conversation about new rosters. We don't need to send this to overseas to somebody in it. We need to send it overseas.
Another 17 years.
The last person we had in there that done the rosters for us, you've had runs finishing at Crow Lane. You know where Crow Lane is, right? So that means it's got to get that way from Crow Lane back over to Prospects, over to Palmetto Red. So our members picked it up, you know. Not the schedule master who put the schedules together. Look at the runs finished. Where's it to? This is down Crow Lane. How you getting it back over to Palmetto Red? Oh. But these are the kind of things, and you're absolutely right. There's no reason why we can't sit down, have a conversation about looking at some new rosters, shortening the spread time, a number of other things, and then get an agreement on some new rosters. Any further questions?
So what would happen in relation to the bus service if the matter is moved to arbitration? Would service resume?
If the matter is referred to arbitration?
Yeah, if the matter is referred to arbitration, what would happen?
This might be, the union doesn't often break the law. But for this issue, we may be pressed to break the law. We might be. And the reason why I'm saying to that, because we had the CBA that clearly lays out what the management team should be doing to manage their work. And if you're not telling me you're gonna get a third party to come, because we've been to arbitration before, when they try to get us to work more than one night a week, or multiple nights, we went to arbitration, the management team lost. Okay? No, am I 100% sure they're gonna lose this time? No. I think that to put this in the matter of a third party for them to decide, well, based on what's going on, based on management's right, we're gonna agree to allow them to do certain things. So where does that relieve us when it comes to pick and work now? So you're telling me now that the pick and work can be taken out of the CBA? That's gonna be a dangerous precedent to set. I'm gonna tell you that. Dangerous, very dangerous. Brother Bull, you wanna add something?
Yeah, just to add to that as well, when you look at the pick of work, and if it does go to arbitration, the sad part is that we're looking at this and we're saying to ourselves that management have the power to select summer rosters all year round and whenever they choose to. And that's what we're trying to avoid, and let the member and that the public know mostly that what is in the CBA, what has been customary practice for the past 23 years is what has been stood by throughout all directors, all government parties that have been forthcoming up into this date. And we had back in 2008, 2009, through the recession, there was no change. They didn't say, okay, well, because we're going through recession, that we need to stick with the summer rosters because it's more beneficial for them. They've always allowed for us to continue to pick our summer and winter rosters because that is what's been agreed upon and that's what we've done. So if they allow this to go to arbitration and let's say it did work out in their favor, who says the director next year wouldn't say, okay, well, you know what, because of the budget and because of where we are right now, it's just more feasible for us to stay on our summer rosters, and then that way we can go that route and then we can hire the minibuses. Government spent over $1 million last school season on minibuses. Money that could have been spent towards the operation. You're sitting up here talking about, like Brother Wade said, not having a cafeteria for 7+ years. Uniforms in a space of, we're wearing these shirts compared to cotton shirts or polo shirts. Why is that? Why we got us driving around an 80, 90-degree bus wintertime when you got to have a necktie up to your neck? Certain things and custom and practices that are taking place that the management team have put in place are outdated that are not needed. And what we're trying to sit up here and do is help the media, help the public understand the BIU have done nothing wrong. The members have stepped up year after year. We've done the work. We've put in the hours. To sit up here and tell us that we're going to be working straight time without no double time for a year. We done it. Working 6 days a week, basically almost every week. We done it. sacrificing time for your family to have at night. We've done it to make sure that everyone gets home safe. We've done that. And what does the management team come back and say to us? Okay, well, you did it, now we'll do it for another 18 months? They're saying, if I'm correct, they're saying to you that we're getting electric buses in January. 30 buses. So if we got 30 buses in January, why is there a need to hire and to have this roster for 12 to 18 months? Why is there a need to sit up here and continue to do work that not one operator is in favor for? To spend less time with your family.
4-month difference.
Why is that? So again, when we sit up here and we talk to the media, we ask the guys go back and ask the same thing back to them. Because they're the ones that are sitting and making like we're the ones that are wrong. We sat up there for the past 2 days, hour and a half each day, asking the same questions to the labor officer. Why is it that you're looking at us and saying, okay, well, we're gonna sit up here and fight what's in the CBA? It's there in black and white. But yeah, we're being made to seem like, it's our fault that government hasn't hired the staff that they need to hire, haven't brought in the buses that they need to bring in. We're talking about training that needs to be done on these electric buses that hasn't even started yet for the garage. So when these buses do come in, they know what they're doing and how to do it properly without any safety hazards. None of this has been taken into consideration, but yet you're in such a race to bring in 30 new buses. Driving around in buses that have no AC. The 19 series buses of the newest fleet, which is now 2 years old, having to drive around those buses with basically one window open and a top window just to get some air ventilation. Is that safe? But yeah, we're being forced to do it, just to make sure that we can get the public home and to work. But yet the second we complain and we say, you know what, this is not up to the standard that it should be for 2021, we're wrong. Why is that?
So if you think about the question now, the Minister of Labor is going to refer this matter to arbitration because the government or successive governments have failed to give us the number of buses we need to provide a proper service. The government of the day has failed, or successive governments again, has failed to hire the amount of staff we need to run DPT. Now you're saying you want to refer this matter to arbitration right now because of your failure to properly manage the department, because that's what it amounts to. My members got some shortcomings. 99% of this is on the government and the department. Because had you given me the bus I need to do my work, had you given me another co-worker to do my work, well, I'm not going to be working overtime or canceling runs or whatever. Most of the times, all this stuff's happening because of management's failure to make sure that we've got enough, like I said, buses to do our work and also having the manpower. So the government needs to take that, the minister needs to take that into consideration when it's thinking about referring this matter to arbitration.
So will discussions continue today, or are discussions with the ministry continue tomorrow?
Well, let me say this to you. I don't think that we shouldn't be wasting their time or our time. We had a meeting yesterday. We thought the meeting went over. I got an email from the Minister of Labor's Permanent Secretary yesterday evening to ask me if we could come to a meeting this morning at 10 o'clock. Not enough. We went. So we walked into the room, and now the Minister of Transport sitting there. So I just asked the Labor Relations Officer, what has changed from yesterday to today? Well, we thought we'd have another conversation about mediation or conciliation. Now the Minister of Transport is at the table. Nothing changed. Absolutely nothing changed. They took a caucus, came back, they talked about 3 options. 3. If I tell you we've got 3 options, and I tell you that's the first option, that's the second option, but the third option is not an option, so why are you putting it on the table?
Yeah, the third option is not.
And the third option was the BIU's option about going back to pick and winter work. But you know what? Now we even put that option on the table. But I was saying, well, that's not an option. Yeah, it's an option. It's an option they don't want to choose. I understand that, yes, my member, if we do the winter work, they're going to do less work. I got that. But remember now, that's not my fault yet. And it's not my member's fault. You hired me to do a job. And if you don't have the work for me, that's not my responsibility. And that's why we get right back, come back right back to the same conversation. Lack of buses, and lack of manpower. You have to keep coming right back to that. And I'm not making an excuse. That's what it is. How many operators we short of? 15, 20? How many operators we short of?
At least 25.
Let's just say 20. Let's just pick that number. They're short of 20 operators. And they're short of at least 40, maybe 50 buses.
The oldest bus is 2004.
975.
Anyway, I don't know what else to say to the media. What I'm trying to tell you is that the minister in his press conference and the director would have you believe, you know, they got it all right. No, you got it wrong. You can't force, in an organized area, you can't force conditions on workers. We have a collective bargaining agreement that must be respected and honored by both parties. But the government and the ministry saying, well, no, you're going to do that or else. Really?
That's dictatorship.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the question that was asked to the minister last night about the BIU. Nobody asked that question. They didn't want to know why not. About the relationship. Come, nobody asked that question.
I'll bite. How was the relationship between the,
I'm certainly glad you asked the question now. Well, just let's digress for a minute. We still got Section 57 hanging out during the weekend of the new law that was just passed on June 1. That's still out there. And contrary, well, the minister has his opinion. Families have disagreements. We have a disagreement with the government right now on Section 57. We have a disagreement with the government right now on what they're trying to do to our members up at the bus division. And the communication is going north or south, whichever way you want to put it. I'll give you an example. Remember we implemented a work to rule for 1 week? And we said it was starting on this date and finishing on that date? The Minister of Transport, the cruise ship that was due to go to St. George's never went. And it didn't go because of the work to rule. Because the Minister of Transport was told the work to rule was finishing on the Sunday. So, the Minister asked my firm, he could have picked up the phone, Mr. Fabric, can you please clarify when is the work to rule ended? He says he heard it from some of the operators that the work to rule was going to finish on Sunday. We have a press conference right at Dr. Gordon Hall. We tell you the work to rule and been out time is going to be in place for 7 days. It finished midnight that Thursday night. So, because the cruise ship couldn't go to St. George's, don't blame the BIU's work to rule on that, because the work to rule finished midnight Thursday night. The minister never even called me. I haven't heard from the minister for about 4 months about anything. So who's that on? Oh, he might have an attitude because the BIU is challenging his cabinet minister on Section 57. I haven't spoken to him. He sent me an email. He sent me a WhatsApp. I have a phone call from him for 4 months. We put the press statement out of the weekend. Then got a phone call from the minister. Mr. Fabric, what's up? Nothing. Normally, shit is broken. Really. The PLP has lost its way as a labor government. And they need to find a way back to labor. Straight up.
If I may.
Sure.
Redirect.
Sure.
The question. You said that there's been a progressive lack of resources.
Yes.
And then we've got to yesterday where Director of DPT said there's a lack of resources, so we need to change the way we do the scheduling. You just said that the current Labour government has lost touch with Labour. Do you see or suspect any progression towards privatisation of services?
Well, all I can say to the general public, be careful what you wish for. Because I've made the statement before and I'll continue to make it. That, and Brother Wade just said it. If it's costing you $5 to get on the bus now, if it's privatized, you can expect it's going to cost you at least $8 to $10 to get on a public bus. That's a guarantee. I'm not trying to fearmonger. It's a fact. Why? DPT right now loses money.
That's right.
And it loses money because they're not charging enough for people to get on the bus.
That's right.
So if it costs me $20 million to run my department, and I'm only taking in 8 or I'm only taking in 12, where am I going to get the rest of the other money from? Yeah, you can cut some of the operators that got there, but you can't cut your rated profit unit because you got to provide a service. So if you can cut the operators by 25%, where you can get the other $6 million from? Where's it come from? You got to increase first. First, it got to go up. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. The cost to get on the bus has got to increase by at least 50%. So you're going to go from at least $5 to $7.50. At least that. So think about all this single parents out there who catch the bus. We say, well, I can rely on public transportation, and it costs me $5. As a person now, it's going on 50%.
And singers won't be able to ride for free no more. Unfortunately,
So-
I'm sorry. go ahead.
Those are the things that you got to take into consideration because whilst I do understand and appreciate that, privatization is an option in a country the size of Bermuda. You want to privatize all these sectors. We're trying to bring down the cost of living in Bermuda. We're trying to bring down the cost of living. If you now increase the cost of me to get on the public bus, you increase my cost of living. You ain't decrease it. So whilst it might be an option, I would say that you have to be very careful about privatization. Because privatization in other sectors hasn't worked out to be all that, and now a lot of it is coming back into government. Why? Because they proved that private, whilst we thought it was a good idea and it was going to work, it ain't working so well. It's not working so well. So,
And I concur with Brother Chris. I concur with Brother Chris that I just think it'll never work. You have 75% of the riders that ride for free. It just will never work. The fare will go to $10, easy. So that means all the people that have, well, it's not even free, it's complimentary. All the people that have the complimentary rides will be out the window because whoever takes it on is going to business to make a profit, not to take a loss. And as we know it now, DPT never makes a profit. It's just impossible. So I just can't see it happening. I just can't see it happening.
So what additional stress has the COVID-19 pandemic brought to operators? What are some of the greatest pressures that the COVID-19 pandemic has brought on bus operators?
Oh, I can answer that. Where you want me to start? For us, on the COVID side, it's very stressful because of the fact that, of course, you know that when people get on the bus, they have to sanitize and they have to wear their mask. 70% of the people that get on the bus never want to sanitize, and they wear the mask when they get on the bus, and then they get down the back and they pull the mask off. So we are constantly pleading with people to wear your mask. Please sanitize, wear your mask. Please sanitize, wear your mask. And it's becoming stressful because they're talking all day, every day about sanitizing and wearing your mask. And then we have a plexiglass that's up, and if you're in a bus that's not air conditioned, and even some of the buses that are air conditioned, it's still 80, 90 degrees, and it's very stressful. On top of that, we're only taking 17 people. So you're driving on the road, you have your full 17, you got 5 people standing at the bus stop, and they're giving you the finger or looking at you crazy because you haven't stopped. But they don't understand that you have 17 people, you're at your capacity. So all around, it's becoming very stressful, dealing with COVID and the bus situation. And as us drivers, we incur a lot, we take on a lot, and a lot of people don't know the stress that we go through as bus operators. We had a bus operator that was punched out in St. David's a few months ago. He was down the back seeing it was a passenger down the back of the bus saying some not so nice things to children, and the driver went down the back to tell him, that he needs to get off, and he beat him up. We've had bus drivers that have been spit on in their face and taken to court. There have been bus drivers that have been punched and just get ill-treated. So we do deal with a lot. I want to see the day where in Bermuda, they make it a federal offense like they do in the United States. That's what we need because we have no protection. The only thing we're allowed to do is stop the bus and say, look, call the police. And then when you get assaulted, you can't somewhat retaliate because then your job's on the line. So it's a lot of stress that we deal with, you know, driving the bus, especially due to COVID. And we do understand that, you know, a lot of people are going through a lot of stuff. We do understand that, you know, financially, it's a strain on everyone. 95% of the bus drivers, most people don't pay the correct fare. On a 350 ride, people put in $3. And most bus drivers, they don't even stress the 50 cents. Because they know that people are stressing right now. They know that. Some people that are going on a $5 ride put in $4 or $4.50. 9 times out of 10, we don't even stress it. And then we get those that we know are trying to cheat the system. But 95% of the bus drivers, if a person comes to them and says, look, I'm only got $3.50, but I'm trying to go dockyard. 95% of the bus drivers, no problem. No problem. Because we know what it's like out here, and we know that everyone's struggling. So we try to do our part. But it's still stressing for us. Still stressing for us.
Any final questions?
Any other questions?
All right. Anyway, thank you.